All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory be to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rachakodash. And I want to say double honors to the apostles and the elders, great millstone that rule well. And blessings to the hopeful elect out there teaching this word, also listening and learning in all sincerity and truth, in the hopes that we may edify and feed the lambs of Yahweh Shai, especially in these last days. And what you can see here on the screen is is an image of I can say the late Heath Ledger, who passed away, that played the Joker in The Dark Knight, in one of those Batman movie franchises, if you will, and pretty much what I wanted to focus on is the fact that, and the inspiration for this lesson, comes from, I just paused it, but the elder Apostle Ariamlab is live at the moment, currently 139 people watching, and it's entitled Hard Times Lie Ahead, and he's actually going into, how, people that take things for granted now, and how they're so catered to. The fact that you can actually go into these supermarkets and pick up ready-made meals and, pasties, cakes, sandwiches, and basically fast food, and how people are going to find it hard to take, when there's a lack of availability of those things. And this is something, that I like to go into a lot. It's one of my favorite topics, because he also spoke about watching movies like The Road and The Book of Eli, which I love to watch movies like that, not for entertainment, but to just keep us in the mindset, of the times that are coming and how, hard to take, like the entitled video of the older Apostle Ramlab, Hard Times Lie Ahead. It's going to be hard times for these people out here, but as for us, that are in this truth, the scriptures speak about how, the Lord's servants, are going to be taken care of. All right, so this is Isaiah 65 and verse 13. Let me just highlight this verse. It says, "Therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh Power, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Behold, my servant shall eat, but ye shall be hungry." And so the Lord, those that are serving in sincerity, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, the Lord is going to take care of those individuals known as the elect, because, we're doing the things, we're giving up, the ways of this world, in advance before, pretty much it's snatched from these people's, grasp, if you will. Because, you got people that cling to this world like it's everything. But you see, we shun the ways of this world because, there's nothing but wickedness out here. So how are we supposed to embrace it, knowing, that there's better things that await us, in the kingdom to come, and when I say the kingdom to come, I'm talking about Yahweh Shai's kingdom that's going to be established on the earth. And it's going to be a kingdom of righteousness. It's going to be a kingdom of pleasures forevermore. Just like the scriptures say, But before that happens, we got to go through a lot of things, and the hour of temptation being one of them, being one of the main things that we're going to have to go through, when the chip is pushed and pretty much made mandatory, and they start chopping people's heads off, for not bowing down and worshiping, this man's system. All right, and the ultimate, declaration of you worshiping his system is to physically, get chipped, to receive the implant, the mark of the beast, the microchip. Okay, but and for the most part, for the elect, some of us are actually going to be on the run, and you can't tell me that we're not going to need divine intervention in that time, living off the grid, like they show you in movies like Demolition Man, and you had people living off the grid, you know. When that movie with Sylvester Stallone was in it with Wesley Snipes, and it ain't just a movie, but they got frozen and they were propelled into the future, and they were pretty much woken up after many years, and it was all futuristic. It wasn't what they used to. It's a good movie to watch, but they showed you how, pretty much Esau had everything on lock in terms of his NWO, and how you had rebels that were pretty much living off the grid. And what were they doing? They were causing havoc for the people, in these cities, that had it, that were abiding by the rules of the totalitarian, government, if you will. All right, which was headed by the devil. And this is what Esau wants. But in that time, the scripture says, my servant shall eat, but ye shall be hungry. So we're going to need miracles. All right, it says, behold, my servant shall drink, but ye shall be thirsty. Behold, my servant shall rejoice, but ye shall be ashamed. So these are the things that we're meditating on. These are the things that we're thinking about. See, this is not for us to get, all bent out of shape about. We fear the Lord. That's why we're doing what we're doing. We're teaching the word because we fear the Lord. All right, but we also have faith, and we understand that the Lord is going to come through, for his elect. Because the Lord told us, he's not a man that he should lie. He's a man of his word. He said, my servant shall eat. Now there's situations, in the scriptures where, I'm thinking of a certain prophet right now. I believe it was Elijah that was fed by ravens. Okay. In fact, let me, this is 1 Kings chapter 17. Verse 1, it says, Elijah the Tishbite, who was of the inhabitants of Gilead, said unto Ahab, as the Lord Yahweh power of Israel liveth, before whom I stand, there shall not be a dew nor rain these years, but according to my word. So there was going to be, so if you don't have rain, then what do you have? Ain't no crops growing, it's famine, So this is what, Elijah said unto Ahab, okay? It says, and the word of the Lord Yahweh came unto him, saying, okay, get thee hence and turn thee eastward and hide thyself by the brook Cherith that is before Jordan. And it shall be, so, the pretty much, Elijah was moving in the spirit, man. The Lord told him, to go to a certain location, all right, by the brook Cherith that is before Jordan. And it shall be that thou shalt drink of the brook. All right, now let's look up that word brook. All right, and then thou shalt drink of the brook. Okay. It says a torrent valley. A valley is like a low land. Okay. Let me see if I can. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull up the word brook in Google here. Brook. All right, a brook is like a small stream. All right, like a low land, like a valley, like a small stream that flows through it. All right, so pretty much, let me see if we've got images of a brook. Yeah, like this. This is a brook right here. All right, so the Lord actually guided Elijah to a place like this. Okay. All right, so it says, and it shall be that thou shalt drink of the brook, and I have commanded the ravens to feed thee there. So imagine that, man. You see, that's why the scripture says, for whatsoever things are written aforetime are written for our learning, man. That we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope. Because, and this is, we're reading in First Kings, the 17th chapter. This has already happened, and the scripture says that the time that's coming is going to be, incomparable to any other time that there has been on the face of the earth since there was a nation. That's in Daniel 12:1, right? So if this has already happened, worse times than this are coming. So if Elijah needed to be fed by ravens and to be guided to drink of the brook, in the past, we're going to need more than that in the future, But I say that to say, just to quote that scripture. Well, let me go ahead and get it. This is Romans 15 and 4. Because all you people that trust in these supermarkets and trust in them, you know, them fully stocked supermarket shelves, and you trusting in fast food and you trusting in this man's system, you seem to think that this kingdom's just going to keep on, you know, going on like it has been. But it's, you know, it's coming to an end. You know, and you take things for granted, and you don't seem to realize that while you're taking things for granted in this man's kingdom, this man, I'm talking about, when I say this man, I'm talking about Esau Edom, who is known as the wicked. You know, the scripture says Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So while you're taking advantage of Esau Edom's kingdom, you know, your enemy Esau, he's sharpening the sword. Okay, and he's ready to pretty much start swinging that sword. All right, and we're coming to the time of Jacob's trouble. You know? So this is Romans 15:4. It says, for whatsoever things are written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope. So we're reading something that was written before time, and it's written for our learning. All right, we're reading about in 1 Kings 17th chapter how the ravens were commanded to feed Elijah. All right, and how Elijah was guided through the Spirit to drink of the brook. All right. Verse 5 in 1 Kings 17. So he went and did according to the word of the Lord Yahweh. For he went and dwelt by the brook Cherith, that is before Jordan. And the ravens brought him bread and flesh in the morning, and bread and flesh in the evening. And he drank of the brook. So was Elijah sustained? Yes, he was sustained. All right. And that's why, you know, for all you unfaithful, you know, individuals, you Israelites out there that don't have no faith, you know, mixed with the word, it's not going to profit you. But you see, for us that sincerely believe in this, you know, the Lord is going to come through, and we're showing our faith by our works, man. That's why we're doing what we're doing. You know, you think the Lord is going to leave us out there high and dry, you know, if we're doing what he told us to do. You know, as we keep praying upon him, as we beg for his forgiveness, as we keep doing these lessons, as we keep being charitable. You know, the scripture say charity covereth a multitude of sins, and we do that in sincerity and faith. All right, so the Lord's seeing all of these things. All right, and you think the Lord's going to leave us out there? No, the Lord knows our hearts, man. The Lord's going to come through, you know, for his elect. And we're moving in faith, man. You know, but as for those that rely on this man's system, you know, and my man Heath Ledger, man, he played this character crazy, like he was in that role, man. You know, and he said in one of the scenes in Batman, he said, look, man, you'll see these civilized people. In fact, let me see if I can pull this up. These, I always think about this this scene. All right, what did he say? You see this right here? He said, these civilized people, he said, when the chips are down, these civilized people, they'll eat each other. You know, see, I'm not a monster. I'm just ahead of the curve. You know? And that was an actual quote from the movie The Dark Knight. He said, when the chips are down, an example of the chips being down is when, you know, global economic collapse hits, you know, and people are beaten to, you know, to their knees. Everything that they took for granted is taken from them. All the normalities of society have been stripped away. All the securities, all the emergency services come to a stop. Cyber attacks, the grid is down. And then pretty much Esau manipulates the people's fear, just like he did during the pandemic. You know, and the people lined up to take the jump shot, and they trusted in their enemies. And now half their face is drooping because they got the Bell's palsy. Or they just collapse into the floor because they got blood clots. I mean, all kinds of things happen to these people that trusted in their enemy. All right. But you see, when the chips are down, meaning when the food stops coming in, when the food stops rolling in, and they've been showing you signs of them, you know, pretty much, you know, taking out your food supply. Like, and I remember one of the main slaughterhouses over there here in the EU during the time of the first wave. You know, they you know, that pretty much got shut down, you know. One of the major slaughterhouses in the EU. Someone's pressed the bell. Give me a sec. Right, so yeah, so you'll have to excuse me. So I just had to answer that doorbell. And you know, Satan, you know, he's just popped up unannounced and that and whatever. He's come for the gas because we got some sort of gas leak going So he's gonna be here. So I'm gonna have to, maybe come back and do a part 2 to this lesson. But the point is, the Lord is gonna come through for his elect, man. My servants shall eat. And I'm gonna leave you. I'm gonna leave you with that, man, because I gotta close out. So with that, to the next time, shalom. Okay, yep, shalom. So I'm back. So excuse me for that. I just had to see to a little it was like an emergency call out, for the gas in where I'm staying at. So I had to, jump off for a bit. But I'm gonna go back into the scripture that I was looking for earlier, or I was gonna get earlier before the my doorbell rang. So this is 2 Ezra chapter 6 verse 22, and it says, "And suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown, the full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty." So, going in again to the nature of this lesson, dealing with food shortages, dealing with people taking things for granted, and we ain't gonna stop speaking about this, because this is major prophecy. This is the time of Jacob's trouble that we're talking about. This is an example of us blowing the trumpet, Joel 2:1. And funny enough, the audio Bible came on by itself this morning on my way to work, and it started playing Joel 2 from the top. "Blow ye the trumpet in Zion and sound an alarm in my holy mountain." So I take that as a spirit. We're in the time of blowing the trumpet. We got to keep blowing the trumpet, give you warning, Like the scripture says in Isaiah 58:1, "Cry aloud, spare not, lift up thy voice like a trumpet. Show my people their transgression, and the house of Jacob their sins." And that's what we're doing, Whether you will hear or whether you will forbear, these things that are coming on the earth are going to be so hard to bear, hard to take. Your comfortabilities, your comforts are going to be ripped from you. And you got people out here that ain't going to know what to do, where to look, where to go, how to feel, how to think, how to act, They're going to be shitting themselves, literally. All right, when the full storehouses are being found empty, meaning all them supermarkets that you take for granted, you go in and you scanning your stuff and you putting it on a conveyor belt. You might call up a member of staff in the supermarket. "I'm sorry, excuse me, it seems like you're low on this item," and he goes into the back to go and get it for you. "Let's see if we got any more in the back." And he goes in and he comes out and with a smile, service with a smile and all of that. And you put it in the trolley. Those days are gonna come to an end, man. And we're just giving you, the straight roar of it, really. It says, "And the trumpet shall give a sound." That's the spirit. It's talking about the trumpet, right? "Which when every man heareth, they shall suddenly be afraid. And at that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies." You see that? And that's why I was, earlier I was talking about this quote from the Heath Ledger's Joker in The Dark Knight. He said, "When the chips are down, these civilized people, they'll eat each other." And that's cannibalism. And cannibalism is biblical. That's in the Bible. Things are written for time, written for our learning. So don't sit there thinking that it ain't gonna happen. No, it's gonna happen. All right, and the Lord is making it happen. All right. Remember, the scripture says the same must know it after death by pain. Okay. And like I mentioned earlier, the inspiration for this lesson came from Elder Apostle Ramlad's video. Hard times are coming, man. And I'm gonna, Lord willing, I'm gonna finish watching that video later on. So this is just like open thought meditations on the time to end, or the biblical prophecies, if you will. Let's start from verse 1 in 2 Ezra chapter 15. It says, "Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord." So we are commanded to speak these words of prophecy. Prophesy means to say before. All right, the Lord said what the vision is yet for an appointed time. So these prophecies have an appointed time to jump off, if you see what I'm saying, to pop off, and it fully in fruition. And all these people that are going on like this, what we're saying ain't gonna come to pass. Well, they can have that attitude towards what we're saying, but that don't mean that that's gonna keep them safe. Ignorance is not going to be bliss when, the truth is declared and it actually happens. The words of prophecy actually happen because the truth is being declared through the prophets. Okay, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. So these words are faithful and true, man. You know, and that's why we draw strength from these scriptures, like my servant shall eat, but ye shall be hungry. We draw strength from that because the Lord has given us comfort through this word to know how he's gonna, intervene when all hell breaks loose, how he's gonna protect his elect when all hell breaks loose. We just got to keep the faith. The scripture says, he that endureth unto the end, the same shall be saved. You know, it's gonna be hell out here, like Elder Apostle Ramlab said, that there's going to be marauders out there. It's going to be hard to get a good night's sleep in that time. Because people are going to be coming for what you've got. Constantly. Day and night. Oh, you want to keep warm? You light a fire. The people see the light. They smell the smoke. They're coming for you. You get a bit of food. Oh, you need to cook that food or whatever. They smell the food because they're so hungry. The sense of smell is heightened. They're smelling that food from miles away. They're coming for you. Oh, you got daughters, you got a wife and whatever. Oh, they look, they look good. They look, pleasing to the eye. You're going to have men out there salivating after them. They're coming for you. Like the movie Handmaid's Tale. The women were just getting grabbed up and then thrown in the back of trucks and taken and transported like livestock. These things are coming, man. 2 Ezra 15 and 14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein. For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. And that sword is being sharpened. And Esau is the sword of the Lord on the left-hand side. King David said that, Psalm 17 and 13. Deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword. Esau is the sword of the Lord. And one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. These civilized people, they'll eat each other, man. All right, the modern day sword is what? Any killing instrument, any instrument that you can use to take another out, whether they be bludgeoned to death, impaled, okay, shot, okay, and the ultimate sword is the nuke, or the nuclear destruction that's coming, which is a part of the Lord's army, the weapons of the Lord's indignation. All right, so the time that's coming, man. All right, it's gonna be heavy, okay. It says, for there shall be sedition among men and invading one another, just like in the movie The Road. And in the movie The Road, they show you about cannibalism, which Elder Apostle Ramlab spoke about in his video. And you had, I believe there was a scene where you had guys in the cellar that were like hacked up because they were pretty much being kept alive because they were eating parts of their, eating their body parts bit by bit. So you had people that were walking around in a cellar with like one leg or one arm, missing limbs because they were eating them. So cannibalism is a thing, that's coming. It says they shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. All right, they ain't gonna care what the government's got to say in that day. It's just gonna be every man for himself. People going buck wild, taking matters into their own hands. And if you get injured in that day, forget about dialing, the emergency services. Forget about the ambulance. You better know some first aid. You better know how to patch yourself up. You break bones or whatever, man. And that's it. You just out there. And now you might have liabilities, but you got broken limbs, and then you're on the run from people that are trying to take what's yours. So people don't think about these things. The scriptures speak about in the day of prosperity, there's a forgetfulness of affliction. In fact, I want to get that scripture. I actually want to get that scripture. In the day of prosperity, forgetfulness of affliction, KJV. Let's see if we can get this one here. So this is Sirach 11 and 25. And I have to jump off in a minute because the geezer, he's just gone to his van to go and sort some stuff out, make a couple of calls and call for reinforcements to come and do what they were doing before. So I'm not going to make this too long in the interest of time. So it says, Sirach 11 and 25, in the day of prosperity, there is a forgetfulness of affliction. You see that? Okay, and what does it mean to be in prosperity? Let's look up that word prosperity. All right, it says a condition of being successful or thriving. All right, now you got these cities, man. People would say, I'm doing all right. I got my business, this and that, and whatever. They're somewhat thriving. They can they can still buy things. They can still buy victuals. Well, that's another scripture, 2nd Ezra 16. I'm thriving, mate. I'm doing all right. 2nd Ezra 16 and 21. Behold, victuals shall be so good cheap upon the earth, which victuals means what? Food and provisions. Okay? Being able to get food and provisions, man. Now, at a time, things were a lot cheaper than they are now, but there's going to come a time where, hyperinflation is going to kick the fuck in. And I believe Elder Apostle Ramla was speaking about the Weimar Republic, or the Deutschmark, and how people had to agree on prices of, their food in the restaurant, because by the time they ordered it and started eating it, the price would have shot up, So, for example, if you bought, a meal for £100 or whatever, by the time you were eating it and then finished eating it, it would have gone up like 3 times that, 4 times that. So that's hyperinflation. The devaluing of the money, or the money supply that's in circulation. The devaluing of it, and the printing of it, which devalues it by default. You print more and more of it. What's going to happen to the strength of that money, or the fiat currency? Because it ain't real money. And fiat means what? Let it be so. So it ain't even real money, man. Scriptures tell you that our forefather Abraham was rich in gold, silver, and cattle. And in order to have cattle, you need land. Okay, so that's real wealth. It says, and they shall think themselves to be in good case. Even then shall evils grow upon the earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. You see that, and people are hella confused out here, man. And I'm gonna do another video on this. You had someone, that just stabbed up. I think there's a 13-year-old boy that just got put to death by a guy in London that was, with a sword. And the scriptures speak about that in Matthew 24 and 12, which I quoted in a lesson yesterday that I did, and I was in the woods. Because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold, which that precept, that ties into this lesson. So people are going to really show, their animalistic state. They're going to really show they're going to bear teeth upon one another. All right? Because when they got to defend what's theirs, and that's all they have left. All right, and there ain't no emergency services. That's when things get medieval quick. Elder Ramar used to say that all the time. It's gonna get medieval out here real fast. So that sword, famine, that famine, man, lack of availability of food and water, that's coming. So let's go back to that scripture. All right, in the day of prosperity, is back in Sirach 11 and 25. In the day of prosperity, there is forgetfulness of affliction. All right, and in the day of affliction, so when you're being afflicted, when you're down, all right, when you're going through it, basically. All right, define the word affliction. Affliction, a cause of persistent pain or distress. All right, so when you're prosperous, there's a forgetfulness of pain or distress. And in the day of affliction, there is no more remembrance of prosperity. So when you're being afflicted, that's why the scripture says, in their affliction, they shall seek me early. What's that? Hosea 5 and 15. So these people are going to find out, man. All right, they're going to find out. So let's go back to 2nd Ezra 15 and 17. It says, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. And the Esau's going to have this place locked down. Like they show you in the movies, like In Time, like, Hunger Games. When they split up them cities into them districts and so on and so forth. We're in a time where Esau's moving with great wrath because he knows that he has but a short time. And when I say Esau, I'm talking about the wicked, who the earth has been given into the hand of in these last days. All right? And you're going on like they can't do stuff like that. They can't just decree these unrighteous decrees and lock your ass down, just like they did during the first wave, right? It says, for because of their pride, the cities shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. So if the men are going to be afraid, it's over for you women, Especially you feminists, you proud and independent. I can do it all by myself. I could do bad by myself. Beyonce bitches. I mean, you out there, man, You're going to find out how much you need a man quick. And not just any man, a man of the Lord as well. Because a man of the Lord is going to be, like the scripture says, I will make a man more precious than fine gold. A man of understanding. It says, for a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. You know, these civilized people, man. So, you know, let me close up with one more scripture. One more just come to mind here. Sirach 5 and 7. He says, make no tarrying to turn to the Lord, and put not off from day to day. For suddenly shall the wrath of the Lord come forth, and in thy security thou shalt be destroyed, and perish in a day of vengeance. So when you think that you got it and you're secure, you know, you can buy things, you can take things for granted now. But guess what? In the day of your affliction, you know, when you thought you were secure, you're going to be destroyed suddenly and perish in the day of vengeance. That's why the scripture says, now time is high time to awake out of sleep, for now is our salvation nearer than when we believe. All right. So with that, man, like I said, I got in the interest of time, I got to deal with a couple of things, and I pray this was edifying. I was going to just do a part 2 to this later on, but I said, you know, the Spirit's still on me. He said he's going back to the van for like 15 minutes. So, you know, he's waiting for reinforcement. So I think it's about time for me to jump off. I can just go and deal with what I have to, but I pray it was edifying nonetheless. And may Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai guide, you know, the elect, you know, and keep us, you know, from that time of Jacob's trouble, and protect us, you know. So with that, man, shalom.